Today, there is a group of tourists from Canada. They are getting to learn about Thai culture. Let's become aware of ourselves. Try to stay aware of body and mind. When waking up, become aware. If we don't have awareness, we are lost and cannot develop. Many think that Buddhism is just about meditation, but that is only one part. It is a way to bring the mind to an effective state to study oneself. The main job is about learning about ourselves, our body, and mind. Once we totally understand them, the mind will reach true fulfillment. Buddhism is about the study of learning oneself. Completely understanding ourselves, we free ourselves from suffering. The first step in studying oneself is waking up, becoming aware. People are not aware. Upon waking up, they start thinking. Lost in thought, they are not in the world of awareness. Waking up from bed in the morning, we start thinking, what day is today? What am I going to do? Etc. Before sleeping, we think about the past or the future. During the day, we think about work and so on. When thinking about something, it seems so real. It seems real although such thought is just a dream. It feels like it becomes real. The real thing is this body and mind, but we forget them all. Our duty here is to wake ourselves out of the world of thought. If waking up out of thought, we can see the truth. Because there is no real truth in thought, we may think that there are Miss Universe, for example, or the world champion. Although in reality we can't be, we just imagine. Reality is different from thought. We need to wake ourselves up. People are not awake. About 30 years ago, I used to teach people, saying, nobody is awake in this world. 15 years ago, ordained as a monk, I kept saying so. No one is awake. Everybody is asleep. Bodies are awake, but their minds are not. What do we do to wake the mind out of thought? When knowing that we are lost in the world of thought, that moment we wake up immediately. The way to wake up the mind is to have a meditation object, whatever we are skilled at. For example, breathe out and be aware. Breathe in and be aware. Sitting, standing, walking, lying down, sensing that the body is doing so. Do it in a relaxed way, not trying to be peaceful. Making the mind peaceful, that is for hermits outside Buddhism. We'll do meditation to wake the mind up instead of falling into deeper sleep. Breathing out with awareness. Breathing in with awareness. Once the mind gets lost in thought, we know so. Can we feel that we are breathing? How? We just know that the body is breathing. We do not need to focus at the breath. Just sense that this body is breathing. Feel this body is breathing out and breathing in. Keep doing that. Feel something that is really happening. Breathing is something real. We are not dreaming. Breathing out, know it. Breathing in, know it. It does not take long for the mind to start thinking again and forget breathing. We have been breathing since we were born, all day long, but we have no idea that we are breathing. When swallowing, who knows if we are breathing out or breathing in? We are breathing all the time, but we have no idea. We forgot about ourselves. From now on, breathing out, be aware. Breathing in, be aware. If we don't like the breath awareness, try awareness of body. The reason we are doing so is not just to be mindful, but to know when the mind drifts to thought. Moving hands, we can notice the hand moving. Any meditation object is workable. What matters is when practicing with a meditation object, just know when the mind drifts to thought. it forgets about the meditation object that we use. Breathing, we get lost in thought. We know that breathing is forgotten. When thinking, do we know if we are breathing out or breathing in? In the moment that we are thinking, we have no idea what the body is doing. While thinking, we don't realize what the body is doing. Have you ever seen people talking on the phone? They have fun, enjoy chatting, but they react in strange ways without knowing so. I saw it with my own eyes in this monastery. There is a pretty girl who just finished her meal. She is young and pretty. Talking on the phone, she picked her teeth. So disgusting. Why did she do that? Because she wasn't mindful. She moved but forgot about herself. Nowadays, we sit playing with the phone. Sometimes we laugh, get angry, have good or bad mood. As we focus on the phone, we get lost in it and forget ourselves. We live in the world of imagination. The way to start waking up is to pick a meditation object. Breathe out, breathe in, and know so. Whether we stand, walk, sit, or sleep, just be aware of it. Just know when the mind goes off. When we think about the past, the future, think about this and that. Some people are breathing and still thinking. They think about how to wake up from thought. Overthinkers. People think about how to wake up, what to do to get it right. Have you ever thought how to get it right? Just about everybody thinks about this. While thinking how to get it right, we are lost already. Just know that the mind is busy. It drifts away. So, we come to the sense of mindfulness. Just know it as it is. This is important. Don't stop the mind from thinking. It has the function of thinking. We won't stop it. Just know it as it is. We don't stop the body from breathing. We won't prohibit that. The body has the function of moving. We won't stop that. The mind naturally thinks and fabricates. We won't stop that. But when it gets lost in thought, just know that it does. When the mind drifts away without being aware, what will happen? When we get lost in the world of thought, the feeling of happiness or suffering will arise. When we feel pleasant or unpleasant, the defilements arise in our heart. When happy, we want more. We want happiness to last longer. We feel hungry and attached to happiness. If suffering comes in, aversion comes up and we don't like it. We want it to go away. If defilements arise, pleasant feeling arises. Craving comes up. Once getting what we want it to remain. We crave things and we desire to be somebody. If aversion occurs, we want it to go away. These are the 3 types of craving. When lust arises, we crave for things that we don't have. For what we already have, we want it to stay. If aversion arises, we mentally push things away, whether they are real or not. If angry at something, we want it to go away real soon. We push away what we don't want. We want things to be this way and not to be that way. The mind struggles, trying to find its way automatically. When we want a new model of mobile phone, the mind becomes restless. Suffering arises. When we want something, do we suffer? Many people misunderstand something. They think that wanting something is not suffering yet. They think that only disappointment causes suffering. But the true practitioner will see once the wanting arises, suffering is right there. Our mind is not free. It is suppressed. It is forced to struggle for what we want. So, if there is wanting, there is a mental suffering. Buddhism teaches us the way to release oneself from desire and suffering. It is about knowing and being aware of oneself. The mind gets lost in the world of happiness and suffering, good and bad, and fabrications. The starting point is when the mind gets lost. Mostly, we get lost in thought, thinking about what makes us happy. We want to get it. Thinking about what makes us unhappy, we push it away. We wish it all gone. Whenever there is a desire, the mind struggles. Whenever the mind struggles, there is suffering. Some question if there is no desire at all, how could we live our lives? They thought that the only motive for our life is the desire. The motive is not solely desire. Many things drive us to do activities. Virtue is also a motive. Why was the Buddha keen to teach? He has loving kindness, a good motive, not a bad one. Bad motives trigger selfishness. They trigger actions that would serve ego. Good motives alleviate egoism. The mind becomes open and generous, helping others. Fabrication starts when we get lost in thought. The mind drifts out to thought. So, let's wake up the mind. Repeatedly know when the mind drifts. Then the mind will not get lost in fabrications. It will not be lost in any states, wholesome or unwholesome. When waking up, the mind will be happy automatically, or it will be neutral, but there won't be suffering. The mind will suffer only when it gets lost. Only when getting lost, suffering will arise. Not lost, the mind will be the awakened knower. It will automatically be joyful. There is no need to practice peaceful meditation like a hermit to find happiness. When the awakening arises, happiness, peacefulness, and joy will swiftly follow. So, we have to practice. There are no coincidences. Buddhism believes in the law of causes and effects. We have to put the right causes to get the right results. No one can control the law of causes and effects. There might be even gods, but ultimately, we determine our lives. So, we have to keep practicing to truly liberate ourselves. See? Were you just lost in thought? While I paused, everybody was lost. Almost everybody was lost in thought. Did you feel that? Why is my teaching today different from usual? It is because I'm talking to Westerners. If the audience is Thai, my teaching would be in different contexts. The Thais listen, then think over and over. While thinking, they forget about their body and mind. Can you see that now your mind starts to wake up? It is open up. Once the mind opens, it suddenly becomes bright. The mind is awake and joyful. We don't practice just for this. It is just a starting point for learning about oneself. If not awake, we would live in a world of thought. We cannot know and learn the truth about ourselves because thought conceals the truth. For example, we think that we are young. If wise enough, we would know that we are old. Even a 1-year-old isn't just growing up to adulthood. Every year we get older, we get closer to death. That is the truth. A 20-year-old thinks that he is still young. In fact, he is closer to death by 20 years. So, let's wake up and learn about ourselves. The study of self is called vipassana. Being awakened is the state of a mind having correct samadhi. The mind with correct samadhi is the happy knower. Knowing what? Knowing body and mind. Knowing they are subject to impermanence, suffering, and non-self. Awake from the world of thought to the world of truth. The joyful state arises automatically. Once the mind becomes the knower, It is bright and fresh. Let's listen to the gong. Can you see that our heart vibrates when hearing the sound? Can you feel that there is vibration inside? We cannot stop that. Just learn from it. Hearing sounds or seeing something, the heart wavers. The heart wavers even when smelling, touching, and tasting. The mind thinks, the heart also wavers. The mind wavers all the time, making contact with the world. If we keep observing, we will know that it is tiring. We are knocked around by phenomena all day long. It is not true happiness. To see this truth is a bit difficult. Just start off easily by noticing the body often. When noticing in the body, we are not in thought. Then we slowly start to see the truth of the body. We are out of the world of thought. We keep noticing our own feelings. We will start to understand ourselves. Usually, we think that we are a good person. When practicing, we will see that we are not as nice as we thought. Normally, we see ourselves in a good light all the time. But when starting to practice, we will see the truth. We will see our hidden defilements. We are meaner than we thought. Sometimes we say things and act in ways that make us look good. We make a false good appearance. Talking to this person, we have to act in this way. Talking to that person, we have to make a proper look. People typically react like this without knowing. Deep inside, we do not see what pushes us trying to be nice. Actually, each person is very mean. Who can see themselves as mean? Anyone? Oh, our Westerner friends also see that. Good. Everybody thinks that they are better than others. After practicing, we will understand the truth. When we see others are not good, we are not good either. There will be more understanding and sympathy. We will not hate others, and we have sympathy for them. We know that we all have suffering, so we will not hate each other. We will learn about ourselves. Did you know that you were just lost in thought? The Thai word for lost implies flowing down river. It really does flow away. It isn't stable. It is fluid and it flows away. A monk just walked by and our mind flew to him, right? The mind flows out through the senses and we forget ourselves. The mind flows into thought all the time. So we have to practice. Pick a meditation object. Breathing, walking, sitting, lying, and then notice the thinking mind. Wherever the mind drifts, know so. The mind will awaken. While awake, keep observing the body and heart. We will see the truth about our body. This body is full of suffering. After sitting for a while, we will get aches from the sitting. Some people get itching and scratch over here and there. Scratching automatically without knowing. Unawake, we do not know that we are suffering. Sitting, we ache, and then shift without knowing it ached. We avoid suffering before we acknowledge it. When the body gets stiff, we shift immediately to stop the suffering. So if we ache while sitting, just know so before changing positions. Changing our pose, we will see that the aching is gone. We can sit comfortably shortly. Then aches return. So keep observing within this body. When we see that there is nothing but suffering, whether breathing out or breathing in, there is suffering. Let's try breathing in. Keep breathing in. Is that comfortable? Is it suffering? If not allowed to breathe out, it's suffering. What do? We breathe out to release from suffering of breathing in. Let's try breathing out. Keep breathing out. Comfortable or suffering? Suffering again. We actually breathe in to get rid of suffering from breathing out. We breathe out to get rid of suffering from breathing in. We are moving our body to get rid of suffering of the previous positions. I don't feel that sleeping makes me happy. It is just to get rid of suffering from other body positions. It's all suffering. But the degree from each position is different. If lying down for long, we will suffer and need to shift. Being mindful and not lost in thought, we will see truth about the body. The body is oppressed by suffering all the time. Learning this truth is not discouraging. Many people think that Buddhism is pessimistic. They do not understand the truth and how the mind works. Once we see suffering, the mind will let go of its attachments. Once the mind lets go of its attachments, it will become free. The mind will be tremendously happy. Later, if the body suffers, gets old, decays, and dies, the mind will not be frightened. It will be blissful. It will feel that this is normal to get old, get sick, and die. It is normal if any feeling happens in our heart, like being separated with our loved ones. Not able to be with loved ones is mental suffering, right? It's not physical suffering like getting sick, getting old, and dying. Not able to be with loved ones is mental suffering. But if we don't think about it when apart, we won't suffer. Once we think about it, we mourn. Does anybody have a broken heart here? It is suffering. Having a broken heart is mental suffering, right? Why? Because we cannot be with the one we love. Having to deal with what we don't love is also mental suffering. The one who loves or hates is the mind, not the body. So being away from our love is mental suffering. Being with what we hate is also mental suffering. If we don't get what we want, we suffer in our heart, not in the body. So the suffering is comprised of two parts, physical suffering and mental suffering. If physical suffering, observe the body. We will see that it will never be comfortable. Mental suffering happens occasionally. It happens when we think of our broken heart, for example, or thinking about our cheating spouse. Thinking about it, our mind suffers, feeling sad, angry, and so on. We suffer because we think of it. This is suffering of the heart. Do we have to think to feel the body suffering? No. We can feel it immediately. So physical and mental suffering are not alike, but we will learn suffering of both body and mind. If seeing truly the truth of the body, we will not cling to it. If seeing truly the truth of the mind, we will not cling to the feelings. The mind will not be overjoyed by happiness. The mind will not be dominated by suffering. We will see that it is ordinary. Happiness is ordinary. Suffering is ordinary. They each come and go. No matter how happy we are, it will last temporarily and then go. So is suffering. We will learn the truth about the body and the mind. But we need to be waking up first. Lost in the world of thought, we won't see the truth of body and mind. That's all for now. Go get breakfast. Or perhaps the physical suffering of the bladder needs to be addressed first.